Kody Brown and Robyn's escapade, a new development in the legal proceedings. Kody Brown and Robyn Brown attempted to flee together but were ultimately apprehended by law enforcement. Despite the uncertainty of their destination, the police were convinced it constituted an escape attempt. Following the arrest, the police are escorting both individuals to court under stringent security for trial. Kody and Robyn consistently asserted during route to court, "We are innocent. We have been framed." Their eyes reflected dread and sorrow, yet their expressions conveyed a resolute conviction in their innocence. However, the police are unwilling to consider any arguments, asserting that this is a blatant violation of the law. Janelle Brown made her court appearance at this time. She positioned herself directly before the judge and articulated her accusations. Janelle stated, "I have suffered extensively. It is now time to disclose the truth." His address generated a heated ambience within the courtroom. The courtroom transformed into a dramatic and emotive arena about the determination of guilt and innocence. The fundamental inquiry at present is, what will the court determine? Will the veracity be disclosed? Will Kody and Robyn's assertions be overshadowed by another's influence? Media vans crowded the street outside the courthouse, with reporters vying for position and cameras flashing in all directions. The public was captivated by the startling developments. Kody Brown and his wife Robyn Brown were apprehended during a clandestine escape attempt. For weeks, speculation circulated regarding clandestine money accounts, concealed assets, and treachery from inside their inner group. Kody and Robyn, handcuffed and flanked by heavily armed officers, were led into the courthouse. Their expressions exhibited a blend of defiance and desperation. "We are innocent," Kody exclaimed as the press advanced. "We have been deceived," Robyn stated, her voice quivering yet resolute. As Judge Harriet Maxwell entered the courtroom, a hush descended. Renowned for her pragmatic disposition, she cast a piercing glance over the defense and prosecution tables before signaling the bailiff to commence the proceedings. The atmosphere was laden with tension. Kody sat erect, mouth tightened, as Robyn grasped a tissue in one hand, suppressing tears. The prosecution team sat across the aisle, expressionless and assured. However, no one anticipated what followed. The courtroom doors reopened, and Janelle Brown entered, her expression composed yet her eyes laden with determination. Gasping reverberated throughout the gallery. Years had elapsed since Janelle last addressed her life with Kody publicly, but tonight, she arrived with intent. "I have a statement to make," she informed the judge. Following a brief pause, Judge Maxwell acquiesced with a nod. "Proceed." Janelle approached the witness stand, her voice unwavering. "I was involved in Kody's life for more than 20 years. I have observed the manipulation, the clandestine dealings, and the agreements forged in secrecy. I remained silent for an extended period, but that will no longer be the case." The courtroom was astonished. She subsequently claimed that Kody and Robyn had been orchestrating their departure for months, transferring funds, falsifying signatures, and even intimidating potential informants. "I was reluctant to accept it," she stated softly. "However, upon witnessing their willingness to safeguard themselves at the expense of others, I realized I had to voice my concerns," Kody exclaimed as he rose to his feet. "She is being deceitful. She is upset due to my departure." Judge Maxwell struck her gavel decisively. "Command." Robyn wept softly beside him. "We did not engage in any unlawful activities. We departed due to concerns for our safety, as individuals have been trailing us for months." The prosecution introduced surveillance footage, intercepted emails, and a collection of recorded phone calls that suggested a larger scheme including fraudulent identities, potential fraud, and the participation of unidentified accomplices. Kody's attorney contended that the case relied solely on circumstantial evidence and long-standing animosities. Subsequently, the ultimate twist emerged. The judge permitted an unexpected witness, Christine Brown. She had remained mute during the investigation. However, she now presented a sealed envelope. "This," she stated, throwing the envelope on the judge's bench, "contains handwritten letters from Robyn, letters confessing their scheme and soliciting assistance in concealing it." Robyn exclaimed, "Those are fabricated." However, the handwriting was authenticated. The correspondence was authentic. Once again, the room fell silent. After a prolonged pause to contemplate the substantial evidence and emotions present, the judge ultimately said, "This court will recess." A verdict would be rendered within 72 hours. Outside the courthouse, demonstrators displayed signs, some advocating for justice, while others insisted for the release of the Browns. The nation was petitioned. Was this a family fragmented by notoriety and envy, or a definitive instance of a botched criminal escape? Nevertheless, the Saturday afternoon in Flagstaff was brisk, and the mountain air hinted of impending snowfall. Christine Brown stood in her luminous, inviting kitchen, sunlight streaming through the windows, prepared for a very significant episode of Cooking with Just Christine. Today, beyond mere cooking, it encompassed connection, healing, and reverence for the past. "What do you think, everyone?" Christine remarked, smiling at the camera. "Today, I have an exceptionally special guest. My mother, Annie, is present to prepare a meal with me." From behind the camera, an exuberant voice exclaimed, "Let us proceed, darling." In entered Annie, the vivacious and sagacious mother of Christine. She donned a coordinating apron, her silver hair secured in a braid, and a loving smile illuminated her face. The two women briefly embraced and commenced their tasks. "Today," Christine stated, "we are preparing a dish of significant personal importance, chicken noodle soup. This was our preferred comfort food throughout our upbringing, particularly on chilly days such as this." As they commenced chopping vegetables and boiling chicken, Christine and her mother shared laughter and nostalgia. "Do you recall when we were snowbound for 3 days in Wyoming?" Annie inquired. "Indeed, yes." Christine emitted laughter. "We subsisted on this soup. I believe you prepared it with merely 1 carrot and a small quantity of pasta." "And an abundance of affection," Annie interjected. They diced celery, stirred the simmering broth, and recounted anecdotes from Christine's youth. Christine recounted how her mother instructed her on economizing meals during difficult times, and how this soup consistently united the family, regardless of their circumstances. As the fragrance permeated the kitchen, Christine's younger daughter, Truly, entered. "Mother, it has an exquisite aroma," she remarked, ascending onto a stool. Annie offered her a little spoonful for tasting. "As in bygone days," she remarked gently, her eyes shimmering. A subsequent moment of tranquility ensued. While the soup simmered, Christine addressed her mother, stating, "I have endured much in recent years, and whenever I felt adrift, I returned to this soup. For you. You have consistently been my refuge." Annie placed a tender palm over hers. "You have consistently possessed the strength to reconstruct. This kitchen, this show, this autonomy, it is now your domain. You are nourishing more than mere appetites." The soup was complete, a golden broth, delicate noodles, substantial pieces of chicken, and colorful veggies. They presented it in steaming bowls and seated themselves at the counter, 3 generations of women partaking in a meal infused with affection and nostalgia. As the camera focused on the hot bowls, Christine turned to the viewers and grinned. "If you're experiencing difficulties or simply require some comfort, prepare chicken noodle soup. And, if possible, share it with someone you cherish." She elevated her spoon. "From our kitchen to yours, thank you for participating in Cooking with Just Christine." With that, they clinked their spoons, sharing laughter and a meal, reminding us that the finest meals are crafted not only with ingredients, but also with passion. Nonetheless, after years of residing in a complicated polygamous union with Kody Brown, both Christine and Janelle ultimately discovered the fortitude to depart and embrace their autonomy. The tranquil town of Flagstaff, Arizona, was no longer a residence. Christine relocated to Utah with her youngest daughter, Truly, and adopted a lifestyle characterized by tranquility, autonomy, and happiness. Janelle lingered in Arizona, conflicted between her affection for her children and her need for something elusive, independence and self-worth, which she had been deprived of for years. 1 year had elapsed since both ladies departed from their spiritually plural marriage, and TLC had recently shown their exclusive tell-all entitled Christine and Janelle, Life After Kody. Janelle contacted Christine on a brisk morning in early April. Her voice was more vibrant than customary. "Christine," she stated, "I have finally executed the lease for a modest apartment downtown. It is not spacious, but it is my own." Christine smiled broadly. "That is remarkable. You will appreciate the tranquility. No longer will you wait for Kody to arrive and feign concern." They both chuckled, a sound so authentic it surprised them. Laughter had been infrequent for years. Christine had been developing a modest side venture, a lifestyle blog titled Simply Christine, focusing on parenthood, cuisine, and recovery from emotional distress. She had emerged as an influencer, motivating other women who had previously been in toxic or restrictive relationships. Janelle, who had a long-standing interest in wellness and holistic living, collaborated with her on a podcast series they co-hosted titled Unfiltered Sisterhood. They discussed topics such as polygamy, healing, parenthood, and the rediscovery of self-love. Fans globally engaged, not alone for the rumors, but for the candid, emotional revelations they courageously disclosed. In one episode, Christine confessed, "I was unaware of my unhappiness until I departed. My existence was so limited, and I believed I had to accept being at the bottom of someone's priorities." Janelle concurred, stating, "We were taught that sacrifice equates to love. However, I now understand that love does not necessitate self-neglect." They both disclosed how their relationships with their children had become more robust and fulfilling. Christine's daughters admired her courage. Janelle's sons revered her fortitude. They transcended the role of mere wives. They emerged as women, leaders, moms, and survivors. Simultaneously, Kody was endeavoring to maintain the cohesion of his remaining family. His relationship with Robyn was tenuous. She longed for the cohesion of the former family, despite having previously been seen as the favored one. The quiet from Christine and Janelle resonated more profoundly than he anticipated. One evening, he viewed a segment from their podcast in which Christine stated, "The happiest I've been in years is now without him." He then powered down the TV and remained solitary in the living room. For the first time, Kody comprehended. They did not only abandon him, they discovered their true identities. A year later, Christine experienced love anew, this time with an individual who genuinely recognized her essence. They journeyed, prepared meals collaboratively, and engaged in dance within the kitchen. Janelle chose not to remarry, yet she found it unnecessary. Her quest was not centered on romance. It was focused on rediscovery. Their bond endured, with their friendship more robust than ever. TLC proposed a spin-off series, provisionally named Sisters Reclaimed, which focused on the present rather than the past. It pertained to flourishing. In the concluding moments of their exposé, Christine grinned and remarked, "Departing was not the conclusion of my narrative. It was the inception." Janelle remarked gently, "We are no longer merely enduring. We are alive." With that, the screen transitioned to black, not with sorrow, but with optimism. Nonetheless, the day in Flagstaff was brisk and autumnal. The golden leaves descended to the earth akin to the final fragments of a shattered dream. Christine stood in her kitchen, gazing out the window, her heart racing as she held a warm cup of chamomile tea. The solitude in her home was overwhelming. Her mind was filled with memories, sorrows, and the courageous determination that had gradually developed over the preceding year. She had practiced the words numerous times. However, as the moment arrived, her throat constricted, and her emotions simmered just below the surface. The journey was prolonged, years spent seeking validation, enduring suffering with a facade of smiles, and anticipating a transformation that never materialized. Kody's focus had predominantly turned to Robyn, leaving Christine, who formerly harbored optimism for their multiple family, feeling depleted. She assembled the family in Mary's residence. The atmosphere was laden with suspense and intrigue. Janelle was the first to arrive, perceiving Christine's discomfort. Mary trailed behind, cautious yet apprehensive. Ultimately, Robyn and Kody entered, Robyn grasping Kody's arm as if it were a lifeline, while Kody exhibited his characteristic self-assured, disdainful sneer. "I am grateful for your presence," Christine commenced, her voice trembling yet resolute. "I recognize that we have not convened for family meetings recently, but I have a significant matter to address." Kody arched an eyebrow. "Is this regarding Truly's education once more?" Christine declined with a shake of her head. "Negative. This pertains to my personal information. My decision to depart." Quietude. Similar to a thunderclap in a void. "What do you imply by leave?" Robyn inhaled sharply, her hand instinctively moving to her chest. Christine stabilized herself. "I am departing from Flagstaff. I am terminating this marriage. I am departing from you, Kody." Mary's jaw fell agape. Janelle's eyes brimmed with tears, not of sorrow, but of poignant relief. She had witnessed Christine endure in silence for an excessive duration. Kody derided. "You are exhibiting dramatics. We have encountered problems previously. This does not justify discarding decades of familial bonds." Christine gradually shook her head. "It is not a singular issue, Kody. It constitutes a career of occupying subordinate positions, whether second, third, or last. Of having my voice disregarded. Observing you prioritize a single wife while the remainder of us languish in solitude." "You are merely agitated," Robyn interjected. "We are all facing difficulties." Christine's tone became resolute. "Negative, Robyn. You are not. You possess him. The remainder of us lost him years prior." Kody stood, exasperated. "I have exerted every effort to maintain the cohesion of this family." "No," Janelle said for the first time. "You have exerted every effort to ensure Robyn's contentment and maintain the compliance of the rest of us." Christine faced her sister wives, her eyes shimmering with serene determination. "I am not seeking anyone's consent. I assure you, this is concluded. I am relocating to Utah with Truly. We merit a new beginning. A tranquil one." Kody remained immobile, astonished that Christine had executed what he assumed was merely a ruse. He observed her depart, not merely from the living room, but from all that they had constructed together, or believed they had. Outside, Christine inhaled the crisp fall air. It lacked the scent of conclusions. It emitted an aroma reminiscent of liberation. For the first time in years, she smiled, not out of courtesy or obligation, but because her spirit finally felt unburdened. Nonetheless, the morning in Flagstaff was brisk and windy. The leaves rustled outside the Brown family's expansive residence, however the ambience indoors was anything but tranquil. Christine stood in the kitchen, her hands clutching a cup of coffee that had long since cooled. Today was the occasion, the concluding day, the day she simultaneously feared and yearned for, her farewell. Tension had been escalating between her and Kody for weeks. Their formerly fervent, though intricate, affection had deteriorated into uncomfortable dialogues, resentful quietude, and volatile disputes. The laughing had dissipated. Thus possessed the skill. What persisted now was obligation, a mechanical cadence of co-parenting and obligatory family assemblies. However, Christine ceased her pretense. She had prepared her luggage. Her new residence in Utah was prepared. A new beginning awaited, however one agonizing farewell remained, the act of saying goodbye. Kody entered the room, his demeanor inscrutable. He gazed at her bag positioned at the door, then directed his attention towards her. "Is this the conclusion?" he inquired bluntly. Christine acquiesced, placing the drink down. "Affirmative. I am departing today." The silence was excruciating. She had envisioned this moment innumerable times. In certain iterations, he implores her to remain. In others, he would exhibit cruelty. However, the truth was more peculiar. He only appeared fatigued. "I simply do not comprehend," he murmured. "You are departing from all that we have constructed." Christine's voice faltered. "Kody, I have already departed. I have been absent emotionally and spiritually for an extended period. You simply failed to perceive it." The words lingered between them, laden with years of unexpressed realities. In the other room, Truly sat silently on the couch, headphones in her ears, grasping her cherished pet bear. She exhibited sadness, yet provided support. Christine had been candid with her from the off. This decision beyond merely departing from Kody. It pertained to the selection of happiness, self-esteem, and tranquility. Gradually, the other spouses gathered, having learned that Christine wished to bid farewell in person. Janelle embraced her firmly. "You exhibit courage," she said. "You are executing what I have contemplated for years." Mary positioned herself uncomfortably at the door, uncertain of how to articulate her thoughts. Christine exhibited a melancholic smile. "I wish you discover your happiness as well, Mary. You merit that extent." Robyn wept, not for Christine, but for the disintegration of the familial aspiration. "You are fracturing our bond," she said, mascara running down her cheeks. "No," Christine responded softly. "This family had fractured long before I decided to depart. I have decided to cease the pretense." Ultimately, the moment had arrived. Christine exited the door, luggage in hand, with Truly alongside her. She halted momentarily at the driveway's edge, her heart racing. Kody had not pursued her. He remained within, arms crossed, either too obstinate or too despondent to bid farewell appropriately. Christine glanced back once, not anticipating his pursuit, but merely to observe him. He was gazing through the window. Their eyes briefly intersected, a quiet recognition of what was and what could never be again. She entered the vehicle, inserted the key, and departed. The thoroughfare to Utah extended broad and unobstructed ahead of her. Teardrops cascaded down her face, not due to remorse, but as a form of liberation. For the first time in decades, Christine was no longer merely a spouse in a plural marriage. She was Christine, audacious, self-sufficient, and ultimately liberated. Her ultimate farewell was awkward, agonizing, and flawed. However, it was also imperative. In that suffering, she discovered her tranquility.